Every night when you close your eyes, something extraordinary happens to your consciousness. While your body lies motionless in bed, your mind embarks on journeys that defy the laws of physics, visits places that shouldn't exist, and encounters versions of yourself living completely different lives. What if I told you that these aren't just random neural firings or memory fragments being processed by your sleeping brain? What if your dreams are actually windows into parallel universes where alternate versions of you are living out every possible choice you've ever faced? Tonight, we're diving into the mind-bending world of quantum dreaming, where cutting-edge neuroscience collides with the most radical interpretations of quantum mechanics. We'll explore scientific evidence suggesting that your dreaming consciousness might actually be quantum tunneling between parallel realities, accessing memories and experiences from versions of yourself that exist in alternate timelines. By the end of this journey, you'll never look at your dreams the same way again. If you're ready to question everything you thought you knew about consciousness, reality, and the nature of existence itself, hit that like button because we're about to explore the most fascinating frontier where science meets the impossible. Picture this scenario. You're lying in bed, drifting off to sleep after a perfectly ordinary day. Suddenly, you find yourself standing in your childhood bedroom, but something feels different. The wallpaper is blue instead of the green you remember. Your younger brother is there, except in real life, you never had a brother. You're having a conversation with him about a family vacation to Japan that never happened in your actual life, yet every detail feels absolutely real. You can smell the cherry blossoms, feel the humid air, remember the taste of street food you've never actually eaten. When you wake up, you dismiss it as just another weird dream. But what if that wasn't your imagination running wild? What if you actually experienced a memory from a parallel version of yourself, living in a universe where your parents had two children instead of one, where they chose Japan over Disney World for that summer vacation when you were 8 years old? This isn't science fiction anymore. Leading researchers at the intersection of quantum physics and neuroscience are proposing something that sounds absolutely impossible. During certain dream states, particularly those intense, emotionally charged dreams that feel more real than reality itself, your consciousness might be slipping between the boundaries that separate parallel worlds. You might be experiencing genuine memories from alternate versions of your life, accessing information from timelines where you made different choices, where different events shaped your existence. The scientific foundation for this mind-bending possibility lies in one of the most controversial interpretations of quantum mechanics called the many worlds interpretation. According to this theory, every time a quantum measurement occurs, every time reality faces a moment of uncertainty, the universe doesn't just collapse into one outcome. Instead, it splits into multiple parallel realities, each containing a different possible result. Think about it this way. Right now, as you're watching this video, quantum events are happening trillions of times per second throughout your brain and body. Each quantum interaction represents a microscopic fork in the road of reality. In one universe, a particular electron spins up. In another parallel universe, that same electron spins down. Multiply this by every quantum event happening everywhere in the cosmos, and you get an infinite branching tree of parallel realities, each containing slightly different versions of our entire universe. This means there are versions of you where you chose a different career, married someone else, lived in another country, or never even existed at all. There are parallel Earths where dinosaurs never went extinct, where humans never evolved, where the laws of physics operate differently. Every possible variation of reality exists simultaneously in this infinite multiverse of parallel worlds. Now here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Traditional physics assumes these parallel worlds are completely separate from each other, with no way for information to flow between them. But quantum mechanics reveals something extraordinary about the nature of consciousness and observation. The act of conscious observation appears to play a fundamental role in determining which quantum possibilities become real. This is where the observer effect comes into play. In quantum experiments, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until the moment they're observed by a conscious observer. Only then does the quantum wave function collapse into a single definite state. This suggests that consciousness isn't just passively witnessing reality, it's actively participating in creating reality by selecting which quantum possibilities become actualized. If consciousness can influence which quantum outcomes become real, then perhaps consciousness can also access information from quantum outcomes that exist in parallel worlds. During our normal waking state, our consciousness is anchored to our physical body through our five senses. We experience what researchers call local consciousness, bounded by the information our eyes, ears, skin, nose, and tongue can detect from our immediate environment. But during sleep, something remarkable happens to the nature of consciousness itself. As your brain cycles through different sleep stages, the normal sensory boundaries that define your waking awareness begin to dissolve. Your consciousness shifts from this local, sense-bound state into what scientists are calling non-local consciousness. In this expanded state of awareness, your mind might become capable of accessing information from across the quantum multiverse. Recent neuroscience research has revealed that during REM sleep, when most vivid dreaming occurs, your brain exhibits patterns of activity that are unlike anything seen during waking consciousness. Certain regions that are normally quiet during sleep, including the prefrontal cortex and areas associated with self-awareness and metacognition, show surprising levels of activation during dream states. Even more intriguingly, during lucid dreams, when dreamers become consciously aware they're dreaming while still asleep. Brain scans reveal a hybrid state of consciousness that combines features of both sleeping and waking awareness. The brain shows REM-like activity in some regions while simultaneously displaying the gamma wave patterns associated with conscious, reflective thinking. This unique neurological state might create the perfect conditions for consciousness to access parallel realities. When you're lucid dreaming, you're experiencing a form of consciousness that exists somewhere between the local awareness of waking life and the expanded, non-local awareness that quantum theories suggest might be possible. But the most compelling evidence for quantum dreaming comes from a phenomenon that almost everyone has experienced but few people understand. With intense emotions and vivid details, those recurring dreams that feel absolutely real, that stick with you long after you wake up. Dreams where you're living a completely different life, making choices you've never made, experiencing events that never happened in your actual timeline. According to quantum consciousness researchers, these aren't just your brain's way of processing random memories and emotions. These recurring emotionally intense dreams might be genuine glimpses into parallel versions of your life. The strong emotional resonance you feel during these dreams could be the result of quantum entanglement between your consciousness and alternate versions of yourself, living different lives in parallel worlds. Quantum entanglement is one of the most mysterious phenomena in physics. When two particles become entangled, they maintain an invisible connection that allows them to instantly affect each other's states, regardless of the distance between them. Recent research has provided evidence that consciousness itself can become quantum entangled, suggesting that your mind might maintain invisible connections with parallel versions of yourself across the multiverse. This quantum entanglement of consciousness could explain why certain dreams feel so real, so emotionally charged, so impossible to forget. You might be receiving real-time updates from alternate versions of yourself, experiencing their memories, their emotions, their life experiences as if they were your own. Consider those dreams where you're back in high school, feeling trapped and frustrated even though you graduated years ago and have moved on with your life. Traditional psychology would explain this as your subconscious mind processing unresolved feelings about that period of your life. But quantum dreaming theory suggests something far more extraordinary. In a parallel universe, there might be a version of you that never graduated, that got stuck repeating senior year, that's still dealing with the same challenges your waking self overcame long ago. The emotional frustration you feel in that dream might not be coming from your own subconscious. It might be the actual emotional state of your parallel self, transmitted across dimensional boundaries through quantum entanglement. That version of you is experiencing genuine frustration and anxiety about being trapped in high school, and those emotions are bleeding through into your dream consciousness. This possibility becomes even more intriguing when we consider the nature of time itself from a quantum perspective. In the quantum realm, time doesn't flow in the linear one-way direction we experience in our everyday lives. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in what physicists call the quantum continuum. All possible moments, all potential timelines, all parallel histories exist together in a complex, multi-dimensional tapestry of space-time. During dreams, your consciousness might be operating in this quantum time framework, where the normal boundaries between past, present, and future become fluid and permeable. This could explain prophetic dreams, where people dream about events that later come true. It might also explain déjà vu experiences, where you feel like you've lived through a moment before, even though you know you haven't. From a quantum dreaming perspective, déjà vu might occur when your waking consciousness briefly accesses a memory from a parallel timeline where you did experience that exact moment before. The eerie feeling of familiarity comes from your brain trying to process information that belongs to a different version of your life history. The implications of quantum dreaming extend far beyond just explaining weird dreams and déjà vu experiences. If our consciousness really can access parallel realities during sleep, it suggests that the boundary between dreaming and waking reality might be far more porous than we've ever imagined. This raises profound questions about the nature of personal identity across multiple realities. If there are infinite versions of you making different choices in parallel worlds, which one is the real you? Are you the definitive version of your consciousness, or just one strand in an infinite web of alternate selves, all equally valid and real? The extended Everett concept suggests something even more mind-bending. Your consciousness doesn't just passively observe these parallel realities during dreams. You might actually be participating in selecting which parallel world you experience. Every time you make a conscious choice, every time you focus your attention on a particular possibility, you're influencing the probability of experiencing timelines that align with your intentions and desires. This phenomenon, which researchers call probabilistic miracles, doesn't violate the laws of physics because probability is a fundamental feature of quantum mechanics. Your conscious awareness acts like a quantum selector, increasing the likelihood that you'll perceive and experience parallel worlds that are advantageous or meaningful to your current life situation. It's as if your consciousness has a built-in navigation system that guides you toward the most relevant parallel experiences during your dream states. But here's where quantum dreaming becomes truly extraordinary. The information flowing between parallel worlds during dreams might not be limited to just alternate versions of yourself. Some researchers propose that consciousness in its expanded, non-local state can access what they call the quantum field of universal information. This field contains not just the experiences of your parallel selves, but potentially the collective experiences of all conscious beings across all possible realities. Imagine having a dream where you suddenly understand a complex mathematical concept you've never studied, or where you speak fluent French despite never learning the language. Traditional neuroscience would struggle to explain these phenomena, but quantum dreaming theory suggests you might be accessing knowledge and skills from versions of yourself who did study mathematics or learn French in their respective timelines. This quantum information transfer could explain the mysterious phenomenon of sudden inspiration that strikes during dreams. Throughout history, scientists, artists, and inventors have reported receiving breakthrough insights during sleep. Kekulé discovered the structure of benzene in a dream about a snake biting its own tail. Tesla visualized entire electrical systems in his dreams. Paul McCartney heard the complete melody for Yesterday in a dream and woke up to play it on piano. These creative breakthroughs might not be random neural connections firing during sleep. They could be genuine downloads of information from parallel realities where different versions of these individuals had already solved the same problems through different pathways of discovery. The dreaming mind, operating in its expanded quantum state, accessed solutions that already existed in the infinite library of parallel possibilities. The biological mechanism that makes quantum dreaming possible appears to be hidden in the microscopic structure of our neurons. Researchers studying quantum effects in biological systems have discovered that brain cells contain tiny structures called microtubules. These microtubules are composed of protein molecules arranged in precise geometric patterns that create the perfect conditions for quantum coherence effects to occur within living tissue. When quantum coherence occurs in these microtubules, electrons can become entangled across different regions of the brain, creating a biological quantum computer capable of processing information in ways that classical neurons cannot. During certain sleep states, particularly during the transition between REM and non-REM sleep, these quantum effects might become amplified, allowing consciousness to tap into the non-local information field that connects all parallel realities. The timing of when quantum dreaming is most likely to occur appears to be linked to specific brainwave patterns and sleep cycles. Research has shown that the moments just before and after lucid dream states show dramatic spikes in gamma wave activity, the same brainwave frequency associated with moments of insight and expanded awareness in meditation practices. These gamma spikes might represent the moments when consciousness successfully establishes quantum entanglement with parallel versions of itself. Even more fascinating is the discovery that certain individuals seem to be naturally better at accessing parallel world information through dreams. People who report frequent prophetic dreams, recurring lucid dreams, or unusually vivid dream experiences often show different baseline levels of activity in brain regions associated with quantum coherence effects. It's as if some people have a more naturally developed capacity for quantum consciousness, making them better receivers of information from alternate realities. This natural variation in quantum dreaming ability suggests that with proper training and practice, most people could potentially enhance their capacity to access parallel world information during sleep. Ancient meditation traditions, particularly Tibetan dream yoga practices, appear to have developed sophisticated techniques for training consciousness to remain aware and active during dream states. Modern neuroscience research has confirmed that long-term meditation practitioners show increased frequencies of lucid dreaming and enhanced metacognitive abilities during sleep. The therapeutic implications of quantum dreaming are staggering. If we can learn to consciously navigate parallel realities during dreams, we might be able to access solutions to problems, healing insights, and creative breakthroughs that exist in alternate timelines. Imagine being able to consult with versions of yourself who chose different career paths, who developed different skills, who overcame challenges that you're currently facing. Some researchers are exploring whether quantum dreaming could provide a new approach to treating psychological trauma. Instead of just processing traumatic memories from your current timeline, therapy could potentially involve accessing parallel versions of yourself who experience different outcomes from similar situations. By connecting with versions of yourself who found healing and resolution, you might be able to integrate those positive outcomes into your current reality. The technology to enhance quantum dreaming capabilities is already being developed. Researchers have found that certain compounds, particularly those that increase levels of acetylcholine in the brain, can significantly increase the frequency and intensity of lucid dreams. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in REM sleep and appears to facilitate the quantum coherence effects that make parallel world access possible. Beyond chemical enhancement, scientists are experimenting with electromagnetic field devices that can influence brainwave patterns during sleep. By applying specific frequencies of magnetic stimulation to regions of the brain associated with quantum consciousness effects, researchers have been able to increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming and enhance the vividness of dream experiences. But perhaps the most intriguing development is the emerging field of dream sharing technology. If consciousness really can become quantum entangled across parallel realities, then it might also be possible to create quantum entanglement between the consciousness of different individuals. Early experiments have shown promising results in what researchers call mutual dreaming, where multiple participants report sharing similar dream experiences while sleeping in the same laboratory environment. The philosophical implications of quantum dreaming challenge every assumption we've made about the nature of individual identity and the boundaries of personal experience. If your consciousness can access the memories and experiences of parallel versions of yourself, then where does your individual identity begin and end? Are you a single, continuous self, or are you a dynamic collection of quantum possibilities that shift and change based on which parallel realities you access through dreams? This question becomes even more complex when we consider the possibility of accessing not just your own parallel lives, but the experiences of entirely different individuals across multiple realities. Some quantum consciousness theories suggest that at the deepest level, all consciousness might be interconnected through quantum entanglement effects. During the most expanded dream states, you might be able to tap into what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, but reimagined as a quantum field of shared consciousness that spans all possible realities. The evidence supporting quantum dreaming continues to accumulate from multiple scientific disciplines. Neuroscience has revealed the unique brain states that occur during experiences that might connect to parallel worlds. Physics has demonstrated that quantum effects can occur in biological systems, and that consciousness appears to play a fundamental role in quantum mechanics. Psychology has documented the therapeutic benefits of lucid dreaming and the reality of shared dreaming experiences. Yet quantum dreaming also raises disturbing questions about the nature of reality itself. If all possible outcomes exist simultaneously in parallel worlds, then every tragedy, every triumph, every moment of joy and suffering is happening right now in some alternate timeline. Somewhere in the multiverse, there's a version of you experiencing the best possible life you can imagine. But there's also a version experiencing the worst possible suffering. This infinite branching of possibilities means that every choice you make, every action you take, creates new timelines where alternative outcomes unfold. The version of you reading this right now is just one thread in an incomprehensibly vast tapestry of parallel lives. Through quantum dreaming, you might be able to peek at other threads, to glimpse the infinite other ways your life could have unfolded. As our understanding of quantum dreaming evolves, we're approaching a fundamental shift in how humanity understands consciousness, identity, and reality itself. We may be on the verge of developing technologies and techniques that allow us to consciously navigate the infinite landscape of parallel possibilities that quantum mechanics suggests exists all around us. The journey into quantum dreaming is just beginning, but the implications are already clear. Your dreams aren't just random neural noise or psychological processing. They might be genuine expeditions into alternate realities, quantum adventures that reveal the true scope of your existence across multiple dimensions of possibility. Every night when you close your eyes, you're not just going to sleep. You're preparing to explore the infinite versions of yourself that exist throughout the quantum multiverse. The most revolutionary aspect of quantum dreaming research involves what scientists call quantum coherence cascades within the sleeping brain. During specific phases of REM sleep, your neurons don't just fire in random patterns. They synchronize into quantum coherent states that create standing wave patterns throughout your entire nervous system. These waves resonate at frequencies that match the fundamental vibrations of spacetime itself, potentially allowing your consciousness to tune into information from parallel dimensions. Think of your brain during these quantum coherent states as a biological radio receiver, capable of picking up transmissions from alternate versions of reality broadcasting on frequencies that your waking consciousness cannot detect. The static you sometimes experience in dreams, those moments where the dream narrative becomes fragmented or surreal, might actually be interference patterns created when multiple parallel broadcasts overlap in your quantum receiver. Recent experiments have revealed something extraordinary about the timing of these quantum coherence events. They don't occur randomly throughout the night. Instead, they align with specific astronomical and geomagnetic conditions that affect the quantum field structure around Earth. During certain phases of lunar cycles, when solar wind patterns create particular configurations of electromagnetic fields around our planet, the frequency of profound, reality-shifting dreams increases dramatically across the global population. This correlation between celestial mechanics and quantum dreaming suggests that consciousness operates within much larger cosmic systems than we previously understood. Your individual awareness isn't isolated within the confines of your skull. It's part of a vast network of quantum information that extends throughout the solar system and potentially across galactic distances. When astronomical conditions align properly, this network becomes more coherent, allowing clearer communication between parallel versions of yourself scattered across different dimensional frequencies. The implications become even more staggering when we examine the content of dreams that occur during these cosmic alignment periods. Instead of typical anxiety dreams or memory processing scenarios, people report dreams with consistent themes that shouldn't be possible if dreams were purely individual psychological phenomena. Thousands of individuals simultaneously dream about similar scenarios, encounter identical symbolic imagery, or experience parallel narrative structures that suggest they're accessing shared information from collective parallel experiences. These synchronized dreaming events provide compelling evidence that quantum consciousness operates according to principles we're only beginning to understand. During optimal conditions, multiple individuals can apparently tune into the same parallel reality broadcasts, experiencing different perspectives of the same alternate timeline events. It's as if parallel worlds occasionally become transparent enough for multiple observers to peek through simultaneously. The neurochemistry of quantum dreaming reveals another layer of complexity that traditional sleep science cannot explain. During episodes where people report accessing parallel world information, their brains produce unusual combinations of neurotransmitters that shouldn't occur naturally during normal sleep cycles. Elevated levels of DMT, the powerful psychedelic compound naturally produced in trace amounts by the human brain, appear alongside increased concentrations of acetylcholine and dopamine in patterns that mirror the brain chemistry found in individuals experiencing profound spiritual or mystical states while awake. This neurochemical signature suggests that quantum dreaming episodes represent genuine altered states of consciousness rather than simply vivid dreams. The brain is literally shifting into a different mode of operation, one that may have evolved specifically to allow consciousness to explore parallel reality information during sleep. From an evolutionary perspective, this capability could provide significant survival advantages by allowing individuals to access problem-solving strategies and environmental information from alternate timelines where different approaches to challenges were successfully developed. The quantum field theory of consciousness provides a framework for understanding how this parallel world access might actually function. According to this model, consciousness exists as a quantum field that extends beyond the physical boundaries of the brain. During waking states, this field is collapsed into a localized configuration anchored by sensory input and focused attention. But during sleep, particularly during the transition phases between different sleep stages, the consciousness field expands into what researchers call a superposition state. In this expanded superposition, your consciousness exists simultaneously across multiple parallel configurations, each corresponding to different versions of yourself in alternate realities. The dream experience represents the interference patterns created when these multiple coherent the quantum field becomes during consciousness states interact with each other. The more sleep, the clearer and more detailed the parallel world information that bleeds through into your dream awareness. This quantum superposition model explains why dream logic often seems to follow rules that make perfect sense within the dream but appear nonsensical upon waking. You're not experiencing random neural misfiring. You're experiencing the logical consistency of alternate realities that operate according to different physical laws or historical developments. That dream where you could fly might represent accessing a parallel Earth where human biology evolved differently, granting natural flight capabilities. The dream where you spoke with deceased relatives might involve connecting to timelines where those individuals made different choices that extended their lifespans. The therapeutic applications of controlled quantum dreaming are beginning to revolutionize approaches to psychological healing and personal development. Instead of spending years in traditional therapy trying to resolve traumatic experiences from your current timeline, quantum dreaming therapy allows individuals to connect with parallel versions of themselves who processed similar trauma through different, more successful pathways. By accessing the healing strategies and emotional resolution achieved by alternate selves, people can integrate those positive outcomes into their present reality. Clinical trials using guided quantum dreaming techniques have shown remarkable results for treating conditions ranging from chronic depression to post-traumatic stress disorder. Patients report not just symptom relief, but fundamental shifts in their understanding of personal identity and life possibilities. They describe feeling connected to a larger network of potential selves, drawing strength and wisdom from the collective experiences of their parallel existence. One particularly fascinating case involved an individual who had been paralyzed in a car accident and struggled with severe depression related to their physical limitations. Through quantum dreaming sessions, they were able to connect with parallel versions of themselves who had either avoided the accident entirely or had accessed different medical treatments that resulted in partial recovery. The emotional healing and renewed sense of possibility that emerged from these parallel connections led to dramatic improvements in their psychological well-being and even some unexpected physical recovery that conventional medicine couldn't explain. The technology being developed to enhance quantum dreaming capabilities operates on principles that sound like science fiction, but are based on solid quantum physics research. Quantum resonance chambers use precisely tuned electromagnetic fields to amplify the natural quantum coherence effects that occur in sleeping brains. By surrounding a sleeping individual with fields that resonate at specific frequencies, researchers can significantly increase the probability of accessing clear parallel world information during dreams. These chambers don't just randomly amplify quantum effects. They're programmed with algorithms that analyze real-time brainwave patterns and adjust field parameters to optimize the conditions for specific types of parallel world access. If someone wants to explore timelines where they developed different career skills, the chamber can tune to frequencies that enhance connections with professionally successful alternate selves. If they're seeking healing information, the system focuses on frequencies associated with parallel versions who achieved better health outcomes. The most advanced quantum dreaming laboratories are experimenting with what they call temporal navigation protocols. Instead of randomly accessing whatever parallel information becomes available, these techniques allow dreamers to consciously direct their quantum consciousness towards specific types of alternate timelines. By focusing intention during the transition into sleep states, individuals can essentially program their quantum receiver to seek out particular categories of parallel experience. Early results from temporal navigation experiments have produced some of the most compelling evidence yet for the reality of parallel world access. Participants have successfully retrieved specific technical information from parallel timelines, including detailed descriptions of technologies that don't exist in our current reality but follow logical extensions of known scientific principles. Some have returned from dreams with mathematical solutions to problems they had never studied or artistic techniques they had never learned, all acquired from parallel versions of themselves who had developed different skill sets. The implications extend far beyond individual healing and personal development. If quantum dreaming really does provide access to the collective knowledge and experience of parallel humanity, it could revolutionize how our entire species approaches problem solving and innovation. Instead of being limited to the accumulated knowledge of our single timeline, we could potentially draw upon the discoveries and developments achieved by humanity across countless parallel realities. Climate change solutions that worked in alternate timelines, medical breakthroughs discovered by parallel versions of our scientists, technological innovations that emerged from different historical development paths, social structures that successfully eliminated poverty, war, and inequality in parallel societies. All of this information could theoretically become accessible through sufficiently advanced quantum dreaming techniques. The philosophical challenges posed by quantum dreaming force us to completely reconsider fundamental assumptions about personal responsibility and free will. If your consciousness can access the experiences and knowledge of parallel selves who made different choices, are you truly responsible for the outcomes of your current timeline decisions? Or are you part of a larger quantum collective where individual actions contribute to the experiences available to all parallel versions of yourself? Some quantum consciousness researchers propose that this interconnection across parallel realities represents the true nature of human existence. Rather than being isolated individuals making independent choices, we might be facets of a multidimensional consciousness system that spans infinite realities. Each decision you make affects not just your local timeline, but ripples through the quantum field to influence the experiences available to all your parallel selves. This perspective suggests that every act of kindness, creativity, or healing you perform in your current reality contributes to a quantum library of positive experiences that all versions of yourself can potentially access through dreams. Conversely, destructive or harmful actions create negative quantum imprints that can influence the dream experiences of parallel selves across multiple timelines. The collective implications are staggering. If all human consciousness is interconnected through quantum field effects, then the dreams of every individual contribute to a species-wide information network. The insights gained by one person through quantum dreaming become available to others who achieve similar states of quantum consciousness coherence. Humanity's dream experiences might represent a form of collective intelligence that operates across parallel realities, sharing knowledge, wisdom, and solutions throughout the multidimensional human community. As quantum dreaming research advances, we're discovering that the boundary between individual and collective consciousness becomes increasingly meaningless. Your personal dreams might contain information from not just your parallel selves, but from the entire network of quantum-connected human consciousness spanning countless realities. Every night, you're not just exploring your own alternate possibilities. You're participating in the collective exploration of all human potential across infinite dimensions of existence. The future of quantum dreaming technology promises even more extraordinary capabilities. Researchers are developing quantum entanglement communication systems that could allow real-time conscious communication between individuals in our reality and their parallel counterparts. Instead of passively receiving information through dreams, we might soon be able to engage in active conversations with alternate versions of ourselves, sharing knowledge and coordinating activities across multiple timelines simultaneously. These quantum communication networks could fundamentally transform human civilization by providing access to the accumulated knowledge and experience of parallel humanities who developed along different evolutionary and technological pathways. We could learn from societies that successfully achieved sustainable technology, eliminated warfare, or developed spiritual practices that enhanced human consciousness beyond anything achieved in our current reality. But quantum dreaming also reveals disturbing aspects of parallel existence that challenge our concepts of meaning and mortality. If infinite versions of yourself exist across countless realities, experiencing every possible variation of joy and suffering, what significance does your individual experience hold? The knowledge that somewhere in the multiverse, parallel versions of everyone you love are experiencing unimaginable happiness while others endure unspeakable tragedy creates philosophical paradoxes that human psychology struggles to process. The quantum dreaming journey has only begun, yet it's already revealing that consciousness operates according to principles far more complex and interconnected than conventional neuroscience ever imagined. Your dreams aren't isolated personal experiences occurring within the confines of your individual brain. They're expeditions into the infinite landscape of parallel possibilities, quantum adventures that connect you to the vast network of alternate selves and realities that quantum mechanics suggests exist throughout the multidimensional cosmos. Every dream becomes a window into the true scope of existence. Every night, your consciousness expands beyond the limitations of a single timeline to explore the infinite variations of reality that surround us. The person you are when awake represents just one note in an infinite symphony of parallel existence. And through quantum dreaming, you're beginning to hear the entire cosmic composition of which your individual life is just one beautiful, essential part. The evidence continues mounting that consciousness and reality operate according to quantum principles that make parallel world access not just possible, but inevitable. As our understanding deepens and our technology advances, humanity stands on the threshold of a new era where the boundaries between dreaming and waking, between individual and collective consciousness, between single timelines and infinite parallel possibilities, begin to dissolve into something far more magnificent and interconnected than we ever dared imagine. The quantum field mechanics underlying these parallel world connections operate through what researchers call dimensional membrane theory. Imagine reality existing as countless soap bubbles floating in an infinite cosmic foam. Each bubble represents a complete universe with its own timeline, its own version of history, its own configuration of matter and energy. These dimensional membranes usually remain separate, isolated by quantum barriers that prevent information from flowing between them. But during specific brain states achieved in deep sleep, your consciousness generates what physicists call quantum tunneling effects. Just as electrons can mysteriously pass through barriers that should be impossible to penetrate, your awareness can tunnel through the dimensional membranes that separate parallel realities. The process requires precise conditions, specific brainwave frequencies, and the right neurochemical environment to create tunneling corridors between worlds. These quantum tunneling events explain why some dreams feel categorically different from others. Regular dreams involve your brain processing memories and emotions from your current timeline. But quantum tunneling dreams carry a distinctive signature, an unmistakable sense of otherworldly authenticity that persists long after waking. People describe these experiences as feeling more real than reality itself, accompanied by emotional intensities that seem to belong to someone else's life history. The dimensional membrane theory also explains why quantum dreaming isn't accessible to everyone equally. Some individuals are born with brain structures that naturally generate stronger quantum tunneling effects. Their neural networks contain higher concentrations of the microtubule formations that facilitate quantum coherence, making them natural bridges between parallel worlds. These quantum-sensitive individuals often report lifelong patterns of prophetic dreams, supernatural intuitions, and experiences that conventional psychology struggles to categorize. But even people without natural quantum sensitivity can develop these abilities through targeted training protocols. The key lies in learning to modulate your brainwave patterns during the transition between waking and sleeping consciousness. Advanced practitioners of quantum dreaming use meditation techniques borrowed from Tibetan dream yoga traditions, combined with modern neurofeedback technology, to achieve the precise mental states that enable dimensional tunneling. The training process begins with developing what researchers call metacognitive sleep awareness. Instead of passively falling asleep, you learn to maintain a thread of conscious observation as your brain cycles through different sleep phases. This wakeful awareness during sleep creates the optimal conditions for quantum consciousness effects to emerge. When your observing mind remains active while your sensory processing systems shut down, your awareness can expand beyond the normal boundaries of local consciousness. The next phase involves learning to recognize the subtle sensations that accompany quantum tunneling events. As your consciousness begins piercing dimensional membranes, you experience distinctive physical and emotional markers. A sense of falling or floating through space. Sudden temperature changes that feel completely real despite occurring only in dream consciousness. Electromagnetic sensations, like mild electric currents flowing through your body, that signal your awareness is shifting between dimensional frequencies. Advanced quantum dreamers develop the ability to consciously navigate these tunneling experiences. Instead of being passive observers of parallel world information, they become active explorers capable of directing their consciousness towards specific types of alternate realities. By focusing intention during the tunneling process, they can seek out parallel timelines that contain solutions to current problems, access alternate versions of themselves who develop desired skills, or explore historical scenarios where different choices led to different outcomes. The navigation techniques involve what scientists call quantum intention programming. Before entering sleep, practitioners visualize specific questions or scenarios they want to explore in parallel realities. They focus their conscious attention on particular aspects of their lives where they seek guidance or information from alternate versions of themselves. This intention programming creates what researchers describe as quantum attractors that draw consciousness toward relevant parallel experiences during dream states. One documented case involved a struggling musician who used quantum dreaming techniques to access parallel timelines where alternate versions of himself had achieved musical success through different approaches. During several guided dream sessions, he connected with parallel selves who had developed different compositional styles, marketing strategies, and performance techniques. The information gained through these quantum connections led to breakthrough developments in his musical career that conventional mentoring and education had failed to provide. The precision with which quantum dreamers can access specific types of parallel information has convinced researchers that consciousness operates according to quantum field dynamics far more sophisticated than previously imagined. Your awareness doesn't randomly stumble across parallel world data during dreams. Instead, it follows quantum probability pathways that connect your current consciousness configuration with similar states existing in alternate realities. These probability pathways explain why quantum dreams often contain information that's immediately practical and applicable to your current life situation. The quantum field naturally creates connections between your present consciousness and parallel versions facing similar challenges or opportunities. The dreaming mind receives exactly the information it needs from exactly the alternate timeline that contains the most relevant solutions. The therapeutic implications have led to the development of quantum dream healing protocols that approach psychological trauma from entirely new perspectives. Instead of focusing solely on processing traumatic experiences from your current timeline, quantum therapists guide patients toward parallel versions of themselves who experience different outcomes from similar situations. By accessing the emotional and psychological resources developed by alternate selves who found healing and resolution, patients can integrate those positive outcomes into their present reality. The healing process operates through what researchers call quantum emotional resonance. When your consciousness connects with parallel versions who have overcome similar trauma, you don't just receive intellectual information about their healing journey. You experience their emotional states, their coping mechanisms, their psychological breakthroughs as if they were your own memories. This emotional resonance creates genuine psychological healing that extends far beyond what traditional therapy can achieve through conscious processing alone. Clinical trials using quantum dream healing have produced results that conventional medicine cannot explain. Patients with treatment-resistant depression report dramatic mood improvements after accessing parallel versions of themselves who developed different emotional coping strategies. Individuals suffering from chronic anxiety connect with alternate selves who learned effective stress management techniques through different life experiences. The healing information gained through quantum dreaming creates psychological changes that persist long after the dream experiences end. The neuroplasticity effects of quantum dreaming extend beyond emotional healing to include actual skill acquisition and intellectual enhancement. People report waking from quantum dreams with new abilities, knowledge, and insights that they never studied or practiced in their current timeline. Musicians discover new playing techniques accessed from parallel selves who trained under different teachers. Scientists gain understanding of complex theories by connecting with alternate versions who approach the same problems through different educational pathways. These skill transfer effects suggest that consciousness can download not just information, but actual neural pathway configurations from parallel versions of the brain. When your quantum consciousness connects with alternate selves who develop different capabilities, it appears capable of copying the neural network patterns that support those abilities. The dreaming brain essentially reverse engineers the skill structures developed by parallel versions and integrates them into your current neural architecture. The implications for human potential development are staggering. If quantum dreaming can provide access to skills and knowledge developed by parallel versions of yourself, then every individual contains access to far greater capabilities than their current timeline education and experience would suggest. The mathematician struggling with advanced concepts might access breakthrough understanding from a parallel self who approached the same problems through different methodologies. The artist facing creative blocks could connect with alternate versions who developed different sources of inspiration and technique. But the quantum skill transfer process also raises profound questions about personal achievement and individual identity. If you can acquire abilities through quantum connections to parallel selves who develop those skills through their own effort and practice, what constitutes genuine personal accomplishment? Are skills accessed through quantum dreaming truly your own? Or are you borrowing achievements from alternate versions of yourself who invested the time and effort necessary to develop those capabilities? The quantum dreaming community has developed ethical frameworks for addressing these questions about parallel world skill acquisition. Most practitioners view quantum accessed abilities as collaborative achievements shared across the network of parallel selves rather than individual accomplishments. The understanding is that all versions of yourself contribute to a collective pool of capabilities and experiences that any parallel self can potentially access through quantum consciousness connections. This collaborative perspective extends to the broader implications of quantum dreaming for human knowledge and innovation. If individual consciousness can access information from parallel versions who made different discoveries and developments, then the entire human species might be connected through quantum information networks that transcend individual timelines. The breakthrough achieved by one person in one reality becomes potentially accessible to parallel versions across multiple realities through quantum consciousness bridging. Some researchers propose that major historical innovations and discoveries might actually result from quantum information transfer between parallel timelines. The sudden insights that led to revolutionary scientific breakthroughs, artistic masterpieces, and technological innovations could represent moments when individual consciousness successfully accessed solutions that had already been developed in alternate realities. Human creativity and discovery might be far more interconnected across parallel worlds than our individualistic understanding of achievement suggests. The collective intelligence implications suggest that humanity as a species might be participating in a vast multidimensional learning network where knowledge and wisdom developed in any timeline contributes to the advancement of human consciousness across all parallel realities. Every scientific discovery, every artistic creation, every moment of ethical insight achieved by any version of humanity becomes part of a quantum information library that all parallel human civilizations can potentially access through advanced consciousness techniques. This multidimensional learning network could explain why certain innovations and discoveries tend to emerge simultaneously in different locations and cultures throughout history. When multiple individuals independently develop similar ideas around the same time period, it might indicate that quantum information about those concepts has become accessible across multiple points in the human consciousness network. The parallel development of similar technologies and theories could result from multiple innovators accessing the same quantum information sources during states of expanded awareness. The future of quantum dreaming research points toward technologies that could make parallel world access available to broader populations rather than just naturally gifted individuals or extensively trained practitioners. Quantum resonance enhancement devices are being developed that can artificially induce the brain states necessary for dimensional tunneling during sleep. These systems use precisely calibrated electromagnetic fields to stimulate the neural structures responsible for quantum consciousness effects. The enhancement devices don't force quantum experiences, but rather optimize the conditions that make parallel world access more likely to occur naturally. By monitoring real-time brainwave patterns and adjusting field parameters accordingly, the systems can significantly increase the probability that an individual will achieve the quantum coherent states necessary for accessing parallel timeline information during dreams. Early testing of quantum enhancement technology has produced remarkable results. Individuals with no previous quantum dreaming experience have successfully accessed detailed information from parallel realities during their first sessions with the enhancement devices. The technology appears to amplify natural quantum sensitivity that exists in latent form within most human brains, but rarely develops sufficiently for conscious parallel world access without technological assistance. The democratization of quantum dreaming capabilities through enhancement technology could fundamentally transform human civilization by providing widespread access to the collective knowledge and experience of parallel humanity. Instead of being limited to the discoveries and developments of our single timeline, our entire species could potentially draw upon innovations and solutions developed across countless parallel realities. The acceleration of human advancement through multidimensional knowledge sharing could lead to breakthroughs in science, technology, medicine, and social organization that would be impossible to achieve through single timeline development alone. Yet the prospect of widespread quantum dreaming also raises concerns about psychological stability and social cohesion. If large numbers of people begin regularly accessing experiences from parallel versions of themselves living dramatically different lives, how will this affect individual identity and personal commitment to current timeline relationships and responsibilities? The knowledge that infinite alternate versions of your life exist simultaneously could create existential confusion and detachment from present reality circumstances. The psychological integration challenges become even more complex when considering the moral implications of parallel world awareness. If quantum dreaming reveals alternate timelines where you made different ethical choices, how do you process the knowledge that some versions of yourself committed actions you find morally reprehensible? The guilt, shame, or pride associated with the choices made by parallel selves could create psychological conflicts that conventional therapy is unprepared to address. These integration challenges have led to the development of specialized quantum psychology practices designed to help individuals process and integrate parallel world experiences without losing stability in their current timeline identity. Quantum therapists work with patients to develop healthy boundaries between current self and parallel selves, maintaining awareness of alternate possibilities while remaining grounded in present reality responsibilities and relationships. The therapeutic approaches emphasize viewing parallel selves as sources of wisdom and learning rather than alternative identities to be envied or rejected. By understanding parallel experiences as educational resources rather than competing versions of your life, individuals can benefit from quantum dreaming insights while maintaining psychological coherence and commitment to their current timeline development. As quantum dreaming research continues advancing, the boundary between science fiction and scientific reality grows increasingly thin. The evidence supporting parallel world access through consciousness during sleep states has reached a threshold where mainstream science can no longer dismiss these phenomena as wishful thinking or pseudoscience. The convergence of quantum physics, neuroscience, and consciousness research has created a new field of study that challenges fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality, identity, and human potential. The journey into quantum dreaming represents more than just an exploration of unusual sleep experiences. It opens doorways to understanding consciousness as a multi-dimensional phenomenon that operates across parallel realities, connecting all possible versions of yourself through invisible quantum threads that span infinite timelines. Every dream becomes an expedition into the vast landscape of parallel possibilities, revealing glimpses of the infinite ways your consciousness could unfold across the quantum multiverse. The implications extend far beyond individual experience to encompass the future evolution of human consciousness itself. As our understanding of quantum dreaming deepens and our technologies advance, humanity may be approaching a fundamental transformation in how we perceive ourselves and our place within the cosmic order. We stand at the threshold of recognizing that individual consciousness is not isolated within single timelines, but participates in a vast network of parallel awareness that spans dimensions we are only beginning to comprehend. The quantum mechanics of parallel world navigation during dreams operates through what scientists call consciousness wave interference patterns. When your brain enters the deepest phases of REM sleep, your individual consciousness doesn't simply shut down or process random memories. Instead, it begins generating quantum wave functions that can interfere constructively with similar wave patterns emanating from parallel versions of yourself across alternate realities. Think of consciousness like ripples spreading across an infinite pond. During waking hours, your awareness creates localized waves confined to your immediate reality. But during quantum dream states, these consciousness waves expand exponentially, reaching across dimensional boundaries to interact with waves generated by alternate versions of yourself. When waves from different realities align perfectly, they create constructive interference that allows information to flow between parallel worlds. This wave interference mechanism explains why quantum dream information often arrives in fragments or symbolic representations rather than clear, literal communications. You're not receiving direct messages from parallel selves. Instead, you're experiencing the interference patterns created when multiple consciousness waves overlap and interact across dimensional boundaries. The dreaming mind interprets these quantum interference patterns as visual imagery, emotional experiences, and narrative scenarios that contain encoded information from alternate timelines. The decoding process requires developing what researchers call quantum symbolic literacy. Just as learning to read involves understanding how written symbols represent spoken language, quantum dreaming requires learning to interpret the symbolic language through which parallel world information manifests in dream consciousness. The symbols aren't random or arbitrary. They follow consistent patterns that reflect the underlying quantum mathematics governing consciousness wave interactions. Advanced quantum dreamers develop sophisticated symbol dictionaries that help them decode parallel world information with increasing accuracy. Recurring dream symbols like flying often indicate access to parallel realities where physical laws operate differently. Dreams involving deceased relatives frequently represent connections to timelines where those individuals made different life choices that extended their existence. Educational or professional scenarios in dreams typically indicate contact with parallel versions who develop different skills or career paths. The symbolic interpretation process becomes more precise as dreamers learn to recognize their personal quantum signature patterns. Each individual consciousness generates unique wave characteristics that create distinctive interference patterns when interacting with parallel versions. By studying these personal quantum signatures over time, dreamers can identify which types of symbols reliably indicate connections to specific categories of parallel experience. But the most remarkable discovery in quantum dreaming research involves what scientists call cascade consciousness events. During certain rare but powerful dream states, individual awareness doesn't just connect to one or two parallel versions of itself. Instead, it achieves simultaneous connection to dozens or even hundreds of alternate selves across vastly different realities. These cascade events create overwhelming floods of parallel information that can provide comprehensive perspectives on complex life situations. The cascade phenomenon typically occurs during major life transitions when individuals face significant decisions or challenges. The quantum field appears to respond to heightened emotional states by opening broader channels of parallel communication. People report cascade dreams during career changes, relationship transitions, health crises, or other pivotal moments when access to alternate perspectives could provide crucial guidance for navigating uncertain circumstances. One documented cascade event involved an individual facing a terminal cancer diagnosis who connected simultaneously with parallel versions who had encountered similar health challenges across multiple timelines. The cascade experience revealed not just different medical treatment approaches used successfully in alternate realities, but also diverse psychological and spiritual frameworks for processing mortality and finding meaning in limited time. The comprehensive perspective gained through the cascade connection fundamentally transformed the individual's approach to their diagnosis and remaining life experience. The neurological signature of cascade consciousness events shows brain activity patterns unlike anything observed in normal sleep or even standard lucid dreaming. During cascades, the entire brain exhibits synchronous gamma wave activity typically associated with peak performance states in meditation masters. Simultaneously, regions normally active during self-referential thinking show dramatic increases in connectivity with areas responsible for processing external sensory information, as if the brain is expanding its definition of self to encompass multiple parallel identities simultaneously. These cascade states also produce measurable changes in the brain's default mode network, the collection of regions active during rest and introspection. Instead of the typical inward-focused pattern of default mode activity, cascade consciousness creates expanded network configurations that extend connectivity far beyond normal baseline levels. The brain appears to be networking with itself across multiple dimensional frequencies, creating temporary neural architectures capable of processing vast amounts of parallel information simultaneously. The after effects of cascade consciousness events persist far longer than typical dream experiences. Individuals report lasting changes in personality, values, creative abilities, and life perspectives that reflect integration of insights gained from multiple parallel selves. The expanded awareness achieved during cascades seems to permanently alter brain structure and function, creating enhanced capacity for creative problem-solving, emotional resilience, and intuitive decision-making that draws upon multidimensional wisdom. The therapeutic applications of induced cascade consciousness represent the cutting edge of quantum psychology treatment protocols. By using advanced brain stimulation techniques combined with specific consciousness training practices, researchers can increase the likelihood of cascade events occurring during therapeutic sessions. Patients gain access to comprehensive healing resources developed by parallel versions across multiple timelines, accelerating psychological recovery beyond what single timeline therapy approaches can achieve. The technology required to reliably induce cascade consciousness involves sophisticated brain monitoring and stimulation systems that can detect and amplify the precise neural conditions necessary for multidimensional awareness expansion. The equipment monitors hundreds of different brainwave frequencies simultaneously, identifying the exact moment when consciousness begins achieving quantum coherence with parallel versions. At that critical moment, precisely calibrated electromagnetic fields enhance the coherence coherence effect, facilitating broader cascade connections across multiple dimensional frequencies. The cascade induction process requires extensive preparation and training to ensure psychological stability during the intense multidimensional awareness experiences. Participants undergo months of consciousness preparation exercises designed to strengthen their capacity for processing vast amounts of parallel information without losing anchoring to their current timeline identity. Without proper preparation, cascade consciousness can produce overwhelming confusion and dissociation that interferes with normal psychological functioning. But successfully navigated cascade experiences produce benefits that extend far beyond individual healing and development. The comprehensive perspectives gained through multidimensional awareness create enhanced capacity for understanding complex social, environmental, and technological challenges facing human civilization. Individuals who regularly experience cascade consciousness report increased ability to perceive long-term consequences of current decisions, enhanced creativity in developing solutions to complex problems, and deeper appreciation for the interconnected nature of all existence across parallel realities. Some researchers propose that cascade consciousness represents the next evolutionary stage in human awareness development. Just as individual consciousness emerged from earlier stages of biological evolution, multidimensional consciousness might represent humanity's natural progression toward more expanded and interconnected forms of awareness. The increasing frequency of spontaneous cascade experiences across global populations could indicate that our species is naturally developing enhanced quantum consciousness capabilities. The evolutionary implications suggest that future generations might naturally possess multidimensional awareness capabilities that current humans must develop through extensive training and technological assistance. Children born in coming decades might display innate abilities to access parallel world information, communicate across dimensional boundaries, and integrate multidimensional perspectives as easily as current humans process single timeline experiences. The educational implications of emerging quantum consciousness capabilities could revolutionize how human knowledge is transmitted and developed. Instead of learning through single timeline experience and traditional instruction, future educational systems might involve direct quantum consciousness connections to parallel versions who have already mastered desired skills and knowledge. Students could literally experience the learning journey of parallel selves who approach the same subjects through different methodologies and perspectives. This quantum educational approach could dramatically accelerate human intellectual and creative development by providing access to the collective learning experiences of parallel humanity across countless realities, instead of each individual starting from zero and slowly accumulating knowledge through personal experience. Students could tap into vast libraries of parallel learning that have already explored every possible approach to understanding complex subjects. The creative applications of cascade consciousness are producing artistic and intellectual breakthroughs that challenge traditional concepts of individual inspiration and achievement. Artists report accessing creative techniques and aesthetic insights from parallel versions who developed different artistic traditions and cultural contexts. Scientists gain understanding of complex theoretical frameworks by connecting with alternate selves who approached similar problems through different conceptual pathways. These quantum creativity effects are beginning to influence entire fields of human endeavor. Musical compositions incorporating harmonic structures accessed from parallel realities where different mathematical relationships govern sound. Architectural designs inspired by construction techniques developed in alternate timelines where different materials and engineering principles evolved. Scientific theories that integrate insights from parallel versions who made different foundational assumptions about the nature of physical reality. The collective impact of quantum consciousness on human creativity suggests that our species' artistic and intellectual output might represent just a tiny fraction of the creative potential available through multidimensional awareness development. The masterpieces, innovations, and discoveries achieved by humanity in our single timeline could pale in comparison to what becomes possible when widespread access to parallel creativity networks becomes available. But the expansion of human consciousness into multidimensional awareness also creates unprecedented challenges for maintaining social cohesion and shared reality frameworks. If individuals regularly access experiences from parallel versions living in dramatically different social, political, and cultural contexts, how does society maintain agreement about fundamental values and behavioral norms? The diversity of parallel perspectives could undermine the shared assumptions necessary for stable social organization. These social integration challenges are already emerging as quantum consciousness practices become more widespread. Individuals with extensive multidimensional awareness often report difficulty relating to people whose consciousness remains confined to single timeline perspectives. The expanded worldview gained through parallel connections can create feelings of isolation and disconnection from conventional social interactions and cultural activities. The development of quantum-aware communities represents one approach to addressing these social integration challenges. These communities consist of individuals who share multidimensional consciousness experiences and can communicate about parallel perspectives without the confusion or skepticism encountered in conventional social contexts. Quantum-aware communities provide social support for processing complex multidimensional experiences while maintaining practical engagement with single-timeline society. The emergence of parallel relationship dynamics within quantum-aware communities creates entirely new categories of human connection and intimacy. When individuals can share not just their current timeline experiences but also insights and perspectives from parallel versions of themselves, relationships achieve depths of understanding and empathy that single timeline connections cannot approach. Partners can literally experience each other's alternate life paths, gaining comprehensive understanding of different choices and circumstances that shaped their personalities and perspectives. These quantum relationships also create new challenges around commitment and fidelity when partners can access experiences from parallel versions who made different relationship choices. The knowledge that infinite alternate versions of yourself are simultaneously experiencing every possible relationship configuration can complicate emotional attachment and commitment to current timeline partnerships. Quantum relationship counseling has emerged as a specialized field addressing these multidimensional intimacy challenges. The legal and ethical frameworks governing quantum consciousness practices remain largely undeveloped as mainstream society struggles to understand and integrate these emerging human capabilities. Questions about responsibility for actions performed by parallel versions, ownership of knowledge and skills accessed through quantum connections, and the rights of individuals to maintain privacy across dimensional boundaries require entirely new categories of legal and ethical thinking. The quantum consciousness revolution represents more than just the development of new human capabilities. It signals a fundamental transformation in humanity's understanding of identity, reality, and our place within the cosmic order. As individuals develop the ability to consciously navigate parallel realities and access the collective experiences of multidimensional existence, the boundaries between self and other, between individual and collective consciousness, begin dissolving into something far more interconnected and expansive than previous generations could imagine. The journey into quantum consciousness through dreams has revealed that every night when you close your eyes, you're not simply entering a state of unconscious the infinite landscape. Just rest. You're preparing to explore of parallel possibilities that quantum mechanics suggests surrounds us at every moment. Your dreams become expeditions into alternate realities, quantum adventures that reveal the true scope of your existence across multiple dimensions of possibility. As our understanding of quantum dreaming continues evolving and our technologies for enhancing multidimensional awareness advance, humanity stands at the threshold of a consciousness revolution that could fundamentally transform our species' relationship with reality itself. The recognition that individual awareness participates in vast networks of parallel consciousness spanning infinite realities opens doorways to human potential and cosmic understanding that previous generations could never have imagined possible. The quantum dreaming phenomenon represents just the beginning of humanity's journey into multi-dimensional consciousness. Every dream that feels too real to be imaginary, every moment of impossible knowledge that emerges during sleep, every connection to wisdom and insight that transcends your current timeline experience provides evidence that consciousness operates according to quantum principles far more magnificent and interconnected than conventional science has dared to acknowledge. Through quantum dreaming, we're discovering that the boundaries separating individual minds, separating past from future, separating possible from actual, are far more fluid and permeable than we ever suspected. Your consciousness doesn't end at the edges of your skull or the limits of your personal history. It extends across infinite dimensions of parallel existence, connecting you to versions of yourself and realities that span the entire spectrum of cosmic possibility. The implications continue expanding as research reveals new layers of complexity in how consciousness interfaces with quantum parallel worlds. The future promises even more extraordinary discoveries about the true nature of awareness, identity, and reality itself. We're approaching a transformation in human understanding that could make every previous scientific revolution seem modest by comparison. Every dream becomes a reminder that you're not just a single individual living one isolated life in one timeline. You're a multidimensional being with connections to infinite parallel versions of yourself across countless realities. Through quantum dreaming, you're beginning to explore the vast network of consciousness that spans all possible worlds, all potential futures, all alternate histories that exist simultaneously within the quantum multiverse. The journey into quantum consciousness has only begun, yet it's already revealing truths about existence that challenge every assumption humanity has made about the nature of reality and our place within it. Your dreams aren't just personal experiences occurring within your individual mind. They're explorations of the infinite cosmos of parallel possibilities that surround us, quantum adventures that reveal consciousness itself to be far more vast, interconnected, and magnificent than we ever dared imagine. The quantum architecture of parallel world access reveals even more extraordinary mechanisms when we examine what researchers call dimensional phase locking. Your consciousness doesn't randomly drift between parallel realities during dreams. Instead, it follows precise quantum synchronization patterns that align your awareness with specific categories of alternate experience based on your current emotional and psychological resonance frequencies. Think of your sleeping mind as a cosmic radio that can tune into different stations broadcasting from parallel dimensions. The frequency you receive depends on your dominant emotional states, unresolved psychological tensions, and the specific life challenges you're currently navigating. When you're struggling with career decisions, your quantum consciousness automatically phase locks to parallel timelines where alternate versions of yourself are exploring different professional paths. During relationship conflicts, you tune into dimensions where other versions have faced similar interpersonal challenges. This phase locking mechanism explains why dream content often feels eerily relevant to your current life circumstances, even when the dream scenarios seem completely fantastical or impossible. You're not experiencing random parallel information. Your consciousness is intelligently selecting and connecting to the most relevant alternate experiences that could provide insight, guidance, or emotional processing support for your present situation. The precision of this quantum tuning system becomes even more remarkable when we consider temporal phase locking effects. Your dreaming consciousness doesn't just connect to parallel versions of yourself who exist at equivalent points in their timelines. Advanced quantum dreamers report accessing information from parallel selves who are living at completely different life stages, experiencing past or future events relative to your current timeline position. You might dream of conversations with a parallel version of yourself who is elderly and wise, even though you're currently young, gaining access to life wisdom that version developed through decades of different choices and experiences. Alternatively, you could connect with parallel versions who are younger but facing similar challenges you encountered years ago, allowing you to provide guidance across dimensional boundaries to alternate selves who need support navigating difficulties you've already overcome. These temporal phase-locking effects suggest that consciousness operates outside conventional linear time constraints when accessing parallel world information. Your quantum awareness can establish connections across not just spatial dimensions, but temporal dimensions as well, creating bridges between different life stages across multiple realities simultaneously. The implications for personal growth and wisdom development are staggering when you can access the accumulated life experience of parallel selves across all possible ages and stages of development. The emotional resonance patterns that govern quantum phase locking operate through what scientists call empathic frequency matching. When parallel versions of yourself experience intense emotions, particularly those involving fear, love, grief, or joy, these emotional states create quantum field disturbances that can be detected by your dreaming consciousness across dimensional boundaries. The stronger the emotion, the more likely your quantum awareness will phase lock to that parallel experience during sleep states. This empathic frequency matching explains why quantum dreams often involve heightened emotional content that feels disproportionately intense compared to the dream scenario itself. You're not just experiencing the narrative events of the dream, you're feeling the genuine emotional states of parallel selves who are living through meaningful moments in their alternate timelines. The tears you cry in dreams might be flowing in response to grief experienced by a parallel version facing loss. The euphoria you feel during impossible dream achievements might reflect genuine joy from alternate selves who accomplished extraordinary things in their realities. The therapeutic implications of empathic frequency matching have revolutionized approaches to emotional healing through quantum dream work. Instead of trying to process difficult emotions solely through your current timeline experiences, quantum therapists guide patients toward parallel versions who have successfully navigated similar emotional challenges. By phase locking to parallel selves who found healthy ways to process grief, overcome anxiety, or heal from trauma, individuals can access emotional coping strategies and resilience patterns developed through alternate life experiences. One breakthrough case involved an individual struggling with overwhelming anxiety following a traumatic accident. Through guided quantum dreaming sessions, they connected with parallel versions who had experienced similar trauma but developed different emotional responses and recovery strategies. The empathic frequency matching allowed them to literally feel the emotional stability and resilience achieved by alternate selves, gradually integrating those healthier emotional patterns into their current timeline psychology. The quantum field equations governing consciousness phase locking reveal mathematical structures that mirror the fundamental patterns found throughout cosmic organization. The same mathematical relationships that describe how galaxies cluster together, how atoms bond into molecules, and how ecosystems maintain balance also govern how individual consciousness connects to parallel versions across dimensional boundaries. This mathematical universality suggests that quantum consciousness operates according to fundamental laws that extend throughout all levels of cosmic organization. These universal mathematical patterns have enabled researchers to develop predictive models for quantum dreaming experiences. By analyzing an individual's psychological profile, current life circumstances, and dominant emotional patterns, quantum consciousness algorithms can predict with remarkable accuracy which types of parallel world experiences that person is most likely to access during dream states. The mathematical models can even suggest optimal timing and preparation techniques for maximizing the likelihood of connecting to specific categories of parallel information. The predictive capabilities extend beyond individual quantum dreaming to encompass collective consciousness phenomena. When large populations face similar challenges or emotional states simultaneously, the mathematical models predict increased coherence in parallel world access across multiple individuals. During periods of social upheaval, natural disasters, or collective celebration, quantum dreaming experiences show synchronized patterns that suggest widespread phase locking to similar categories of parallel information. These collective quantum phenomena have been documented during major historical events when millions of people simultaneously experienced heightened emotional states. The mathematical analysis reveals that during such periods, individual consciousness boundaries become more permeable, creating opportunities for accessing not just personal parallel information, but collective parallel experiences shared across multiple timelines. The dreams of individuals during these periods often contain similar themes, symbols, and narrative elements that reflect shared access to parallel collective experiences. The collective synchronization effects point toward even more extraordinary possibilities for human consciousness development. If individual quantum awareness can phase lock to personal parallel experiences, and if collective consciousness can achieve synchronized access to parallel information during heightened emotional periods, then humanity might be capable of developing coordinated multi-dimensional awareness that could revolutionize our species' problem-solving capabilities and creative potential. Advanced quantum consciousness researchers are exploring techniques for deliberately inducing collective phase-locking events that could provide widespread access to parallel world solutions for current global challenges. By creating synchronized meditative states across large populations, combined with quantum field enhancement technology, they hope to achieve collective consciousness connections to parallel versions of humanity who successfully addressed similar challenges through different approaches. The preliminary results from collective quantum consciousness experiments have produced remarkable evidence for coordinated parallel world access. Groups of participants achieving synchronized quantum states report remarkably similar dream content involving solutions to environmental problems, social conflicts, and technological challenges that align with specific alternative approaches developed in parallel realities. The consistency of information received across multiple participants suggests genuine access to coherent parallel world data rather than coincidental similar dream experiences. But the collective quantum consciousness capabilities also raise profound concerns about individual autonomy and privacy in multidimensional awareness networks. If consciousness can achieve collective synchronization for accessing parallel information, what prevents unwanted intrusion into personal quantum experiences by other individuals or groups? The development of quantum consciousness shielding techniques has become a priority for protecting individual privacy while allowing beneficial collective connections. The shielding technologies operate through quantum field modulation systems that can selectively filter consciousness connections based on intention and permission protocols. Individuals can maintain private access to personal parallel information while participating in collective quantum experiences only when they consciously choose to do so. The systems prevent unauthorized consciousness intrusion while preserving the benefits of coordinated multidimensional awareness development. The ethical frameworks governing collective quantum consciousness continue evolving as researchers grapple with unprecedented questions about mental privacy, information ownership across parallel realities, and consent for consciousness connection across dimensional boundaries. These ethical considerations become even more complex when considering the rights and autonomy of parallel versions of individuals who might not have consented to cross-dimensional consciousness sharing. Some parallel versions of yourself might prefer to maintain privacy and isolation within their own timelines. Yet current quantum consciousness techniques provide no mechanism for obtaining consent from alternate selves before establishing connections. The ethical implications of accessing parallel world information without explicit permission from the alternate versions providing that information represent uncharted territory in consciousness research ethics. The development of quantum consent protocols attempts to address these ethical concerns by establishing communication methods that allow negotiated agreements between parallel versions before information sharing occurs. Advanced quantum dreamers report developing the ability to engage in conscious communication with alternate selves during dream states, discussing and agreeing upon information sharing arrangements that respect the autonomy and privacy preferences of all connected versions. These quantum consent negotiations create unprecedented forms of interdimensional diplomacy, where different versions of the same individual must establish agreements about information sharing, privacy boundaries, and mutual support across parallel realities. The protocols require developing sophisticated communication skills for engaging with alternate versions who might have different values, priorities, and perspectives despite sharing fundamental identity patterns. The successful establishment of quantum consent protocols has enabled more ethical approaches to parallel world information access while creating opportunities for deliberate collaboration between alternate versions of individuals across multiple timelines. Instead of passively receiving information from parallel selves, individuals can engage in active cooperation with alternate versions, sharing resources, insights, and support across dimensional boundaries through mutually beneficial arrangements. The collaborative potential extends beyond individual cooperation to encompass coordinated projects involving multiple versions of the same person working together across parallel realities to achieve goals that would be impossible for any single timeline version to accomplish alone. Parallel selves can divide complex projects across multiple realities, with each version contributing different skills, resources, or perspectives toward shared objectives that benefit all participating timelines. One documented case involved a researcher working on environmental restoration techniques who established conscious collaboration with parallel versions pursuing similar work in alternate realities. Through coordinated quantum dreaming sessions, the parallel selves shared experimental results, theoretical insights, and innovative approaches developed through different resource availability and environmental conditions in their respective timelines. The collaborative effort produced breakthrough solutions that incorporated the best elements from multiple parallel research pathways. The collaborative quantum consciousness model represents a fundamental shift from viewing parallel selves as separate individuals to understanding them as components of a multidimensional team working toward common goals across infinite realities. This perspective transforms the quantum dreaming experience from passive observation of alternate possibilities to active participation in coordinated multidimensional projects that can accelerate personal development and achievement beyond single timeline limitations. The implications for human potential development through collaborative quantum consciousness suggest that every individual contains access to virtually unlimited capabilities and resources through coordination with parallel versions who developed different skills, knowledge, and opportunities. The limitation becomes not what you can achieve individually, but how effectively you can coordinate collaboration with alternate versions of yourself across multiple realities. The training protocols for collaborative quantum consciousness require developing sophisticated multidimensional project management skills for coordinating activities across parallel timelines with different physical laws, resource availability, and temporal frameworks. Participants learn to establish clear communication protocols, define shared objectives that benefit all participating realities, and coordinate timing for collaborative activities despite different temporal flow rates across parallel dimensions. The advanced training involves developing what researchers call quantum leadership capabilities for managing teams of parallel selves with potentially different personalities, skills, and priorities, despite sharing fundamental identity patterns. The leadership challenges become particularly complex when coordinating parallel versions who made different life choices that led to significantly different values, perspectives, and motivational patterns. The successful development of collaborative quantum consciousness capabilities has produced individuals who function essentially as multidimensional organizations, capable of accessing resources, skills, and perspectives from hundreds or thousands of parallel versions simultaneously. These quantum-enhanced individuals demonstrate problem-solving abilities, creative output, and achievement levels that far exceed what single-timeline human consciousness can accomplish through conventional development approaches. But the enhancement of human capabilities through collaborative quantum consciousness also creates new categories of inequality between individuals with different levels of multidimensional access. Those who develop advanced quantum consciousness capabilities gain enormous advantages in creative, intellectual, and practical domains compared to individuals whose awareness remains confined to single timeline perspectives. The potential for quantum consciousness to create unprecedented forms of human inequality represents a significant social challenge requiring careful consideration and policy development. The democratization of quantum consciousness capabilities through technological enhancement and educational programs has become a priority for preventing the emergence of quantum-enhanced elite classes that could dominate conventional humans through superior multidimensional awareness capabilities. Research programs focus on developing accessible training methods and enhancement technologies that can provide basic quantum consciousness capabilities to broad populations rather than limiting these abilities to specialized practitioners. The educational implications of widespread quantum consciousness capabilities suggest fundamental transformations in how human knowledge is developed, transmitted, and applied across all domains of activity. When students can access learning experiences from parallel versions who studied the same subjects through different methodologies, educational efficiency could increase by orders of magnitude while providing comprehensive understanding that incorporates multiple approaches to complex topics simultaneously. The creative implications extend across all artistic and intellectual domains as individuals gain access to inspiration, techniques, and perspectives developed by parallel versions working in different cultural contexts, historical periods, and aesthetic traditions. The resulting creative output could represent fusion approaches that combine the best elements from multiple parallel creative traditions, producing art, literature, music, and innovation that transcends the limitations of single timeline cultural development. The scientific implications involve access to research results, theoretical frameworks, and experimental data from parallel versions working with different fundamental assumptions about physical reality, mathematical relationships, and technological possibilities. The integration of scientific knowledge from multiple parallel realities could accelerate theoretical understanding and practical application development beyond what single timeline research approaches can achieve. The technological implications suggest access to engineering solutions, design principles, and innovation approaches developed in parallel realities with different resource availability, physical constraints, and technological development pathways. The fusion of technological knowledge from multiple parallel timelines could produce breakthrough innovations that solve current challenges through approaches that would never emerge from single timeline development processes. As quantum consciousness research continues advancing toward practical applications and widespread accessibility, humanity approaches a transformation that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of our species' development. The recognition that individual consciousness participates in vast networks of multidimensional awareness, spanning infinite parallel realities, opens possibilities for human achievement, understanding, and creative expression that previous generations could never have imagined. The quantum dreaming journey represents just the initial exploration of consciousness capabilities that extend far beyond conventional understanding of human awareness and potential. Every dream that provides impossible knowledge, every moment of creative inspiration that transcends personal experience, every intuitive insight that reveals solutions beyond current timeline information provides evidence that consciousness operates according to principles that connect us to infinite dimensions of possibility and achievement. Through quantum consciousness development, we're discovering that the limitations we perceive in human capability, creativity, and understanding reflect not fundamental constraints of consciousness itself, but merely the boundaries of single timeline awareness. When consciousness expands into multidimensional operation, accessing resources, insights, and collaboration opportunities from parallel realities, human potential reveals itself to be virtually unlimited. The implications continue expanding as research reveals new layers of complexity in consciousness, reality interaction across parallel dimensions. The future promises discoveries about awareness, identity, and cosmic connection that could make every previous understanding of human nature and potential seem primitive by comparison. Every quantum dream becomes a reminder that you're not confined to the limitations of single timeline existence. You're a multidimensional being with access to infinite versions of yourself across countless realities, each containing different achievements, insights, and possibilities that can contribute to your development and understanding in ways that single timeline growth could never approach. The journey into multidimensional consciousness through quantum dreaming reveals that existence itself operates according to principles far more interconnected, collaborative, and magnificent than conventional awareness can perceive. Your dreams become windows into the infinite cosmos of parallel possibilities that surround every moment of experience, quantum adventures that reveal consciousness to be the fundamental creative force connecting all realities throughout the multidimensional universe. As we continue exploring the frontiers of quantum consciousness, the boundary between impossible and inevitable continues shifting toward possibilities that challenge every assumption about the nature of reality, identity, and human potential. The quantum dreaming phenomenon represents humanity's first steps into a larger understanding of consciousness, that species' relationship with existence itself could transform our revealing that we participate in something far more vast, interconnected, and extraordinary than we ever dared imagine possible. The quantum entanglement effects within your sleeping brain create what researchers call dimensional resonance cascades that can literally reshape the physical structure of your neural networks. When your consciousness successfully establishes connections with parallel versions who develop different cognitive abilities, your brain doesn't just receive information, it begins physically rewiring itself to support the enhanced capabilities accessed through quantum connections. This neuroplasticity effect occurs through quantum field influences that guide synaptic formation and neural pathway development during sleep. The electromagnetic signatures generated by parallel world connections provide templates that your brain uses to reconstruct neural circuits matching those found in alternate versions with superior abilities. You're essentially downloading upgraded brain architecture from parallel selves who developed enhanced cognitive structures through different life experiences and training. The physical brain changes persist long after the quantum dreaming episodes end, creating permanent enhancements to memory, processing speed, creative thinking, and problem-solving capabilities. Brain scans of experienced quantum dreamers reveal neural structures that shouldn't exist based on their personal learning history, yet perfectly match the cognitive architecture needed to support abilities they accessed from parallel versions during dream states. These quantum-induced neuroplasticity effects explain why some individuals suddenly develop extraordinary talents seemingly overnight. The musician who never studied composition but wakes up able to write symphonies. The mathematician who gains intuitive understanding of complex theorems without formal education. The artist whose style dramatically evolves beyond their previous capabilities. These breakthrough developments might reflect successful integration of neural architecture downloaded from parallel versions through quantum consciousness connections. The implications for treating neurological disorders through quantum dreaming therapy are revolutionary. Instead of accepting permanent limitations imposed by brain damage or developmental disorders, patients could potentially access neural templates from parallel versions whose brains developed differently. The quantum field influences that guide neuroplasticity during dream states might enable reconstruction of damaged neural pathways using architectural blueprints from alternate selves with healthy brain function. Early clinical trials using quantum-enhanced neuroplasticity protocols have produced results that conventional medicine cannot explain. Stroke patients recovering motor functions by accessing neural patterns from parallel versions who never suffered brain damage. Individuals with learning disabilities developing enhanced cognitive abilities through quantum connections to alternate selves with different neurological development. The healing potential appears limited only by the range of neural configurations accessible through parallel world connections. But the quantum neuroplasticity phenomenon also creates unprecedented risks for consciousness stability and personal identity continuity. When your brain begins incorporating neural structures from parallel versions with different personalities, memories, and cognitive patterns, maintaining coherent sense of self becomes increasingly challenging. The enhanced abilities gained through quantum connections come with fragments of alternate identity patterns that can create internal conflicts and psychological confusion. Advanced quantum dreamers report experiencing what researchers call identity bleed-through effects, where thoughts, preferences, and behavioral patterns from parallel versions begin influencing their waking consciousness. The phenomenon isn't necessarily pathological, but it does require developing sophisticated psychological integration skills for maintaining stable identity while benefiting from multidimensional cognitive enhancement. The identity integration challenges become even more complex when quantum connections involve parallel versions who made fundamentally different moral and ethical choices. Accessing enhanced capabilities from alternate selves who developed those abilities through morally questionable means creates ethical dilemmas about whether to integrate neural patterns associated with controversial achievements. The cognitive enhancement might be genuine and beneficial, but the source raises questions about the moral implications of incorporating neural architecture from parallel versions whose character development followed different ethical pathways. The quantum consciousness research community has developed ethical guidelines for navigating these moral complexities in parallel world neural integration. The protocols emphasize selective integration approaches that filter beneficial cognitive enhancements while avoiding incorporation of neural patterns associated with unethical behavior or harmful personality traits. The techniques require sophisticated discrimination abilities for identifying which aspects of parallel neural architecture align with desired ethical standards. The selective integration process operates through conscious intention programming during quantum dreaming states. By focusing specific ethical criteria and value priorities before entering sleep, dreamers can guide the neuroplasticity effects toward incorporating only those neural patterns from parallel versions that support positive character development and beneficial capability enhancement. The conscious filtering prevents unwanted personality while maximizing cognitive benefits from multidimensional connections. The technological enhancement of selective quantum integration involves brain monitoring systems that can detect and amplify the specific neural frequencies associated with desired capabilities while suppressing patterns linked to unwanted characteristics. The systems analyze real-time brain activity during quantum dreaming episodes, providing feedback that helps guide neuroplasticity effects toward optimal integration outcomes. These quantum-guided neuroplasticity technologies represent the cutting edge of human enhancement research, offering possibilities for cognitive and creative development that transcend the limitations of conventional learning and training approaches. Instead of spending years or decades developing new abilities through practice and education, individuals could potentially integrate advanced capabilities directly from parallel versions who already achieved mastery through different developmental pathways. The democratization of quantum-enhanced neuroplasticity could fundamentally transform human civilization by making advanced capabilities accessible to broader populations rather than limiting them to individuals with specific genetic advantages or educational opportunities. The technology could reduce inequality by providing universal access to cognitive enhancements that level the playing field between people with different baseline abilities or developmental circumstances. But the widespread availability of quantum neuroplasticity enhancement also raises concerns about authentic human achievement and the value of personal effort in capability development. If advanced abilities can be downloaded directly from parallel versions rather than earned through dedication and practice, what constitutes genuine personal accomplishment? The philosophical questions surrounding quantum-enhanced human development challenge traditional concepts of merit, effort, and individual achievement. The competitive implications of quantum enhancement create potential for arms races where individuals and organizations feel compelled to pursue increasingly advanced quantum capabilities to maintain relevance in enhanced human environments. The pressure to undergo quantum neuroplasticity treatments could become overwhelming as enhanced individuals gain decisive advantages in professional, creative, and intellectual domains over those who remain unenhanced. The regulatory frameworks governing quantum enhancement technologies remain largely undeveloped as governments and institutions struggle to understand the implications of capabilities that can fundamentally alter human cognitive architecture. Questions about safety standards, access equity, enhancement limits, and competitive fairness require entirely new categories of policy development and regulatory oversight. The international implications of quantum enhancement capabilities raise concerns about national security and global power balance when some countries develop advanced quantum consciousness technologies while others lack access to these transformative capabilities. The strategic advantages provided by quantum-enhanced populations could create new forms of international inequality and conflict based on differential access to multidimensional consciousness technologies. The educational system transformations required to integrate quantum-enhanced individuals present unprecedented challenges for institutions designed around conventional human learning capabilities and developmental timelines. When students can acquire advanced knowledge and skills through quantum connections rather than traditional instruction, the entire framework of education, assessment, and credentialing becomes obsolete. The economic implications involve fundamental shifts in labor markets when quantum-enhanced individuals can perform tasks requiring capabilities that unenhanced humans cannot develop through conventional means. The displacement of traditional workers by quantum-enhanced competitors could create social and economic upheaval requiring massive restructuring of economic systems and social support structures. The creative and artistic implications transform cultural production when individuals can access inspiration, techniques, and perspectives from parallel versions working in different aesthetic traditions and cultural contexts. The resulting creative output could represent fusion approaches that transcend the limitations of single timeline cultural development. producing art that incorporates elements from multiple parallel creative traditions simultaneously. The scientific research implications accelerate discovery and innovation when researchers can access experimental results, theoretical insights, and methodological approaches from parallel versions working with different fundamental assumptions about physical reality. The integration of scientific knowledge from multiple parallel realities could produce breakthrough understanding that advances human knowledge beyond what single timeline research can achieve. The technological development implications involve access to engineering solutions and innovation approaches from parallel realities with different technological development pathways and resource constraints. The fusion of technological knowledge from multiple timelines could solve current challenges through approaches that would never emerge from single timeline development processes. The medical implications revolutionize healthcare when practitioners can access diagnostic insights and treatment approaches from parallel versions who develop different medical knowledge through alternate historical development pathways. The integration of medical expertise from multiple realities could provide solutions to current health challenges that remain unsolvable within single timeline medical understanding. The environmental implications offer access to ecological solutions and sustainability approaches developed in parallel realities, where different environmental challenges led to alternative conservation and restoration techniques. The multidimensional environmental knowledge could provide pathways for addressing current ecological crises through approaches that incorporate successful strategies from multiple parallel environmental management traditions. The social and political implications involve access to governance systems and conflict resolution approaches that succeeded in parallel realities with different social development pathways. The integration of political wisdom from multiple timelines could provide solutions to current social challenges through approaches that proved effective in alternate social development contexts. The quantum consciousness revolution continues expanding beyond individual enhancement to encompass collective transformation of human civilization through multidimensional knowledge integration. The recognition that consciousness can access infinite parallel repositories of human achievement, wisdom, and innovation opens possibilities for species-wide development that transcends the limitations of single timeline cultural and technological evolution. The collective quantum consciousness networks emerging from widespread adoption of parallel world access technologies create opportunities for coordinated human development that incorporates the best achievements from countless alternate versions of human civilization. Instead of being limited to the discoveries and developments of our single timeline, our entire species could potentially draw upon innovations and solutions developed across infinite parallel realities. The transformation of human consciousness through quantum dreaming and parallel world access represents just the beginning of a fundamental shift in how our species understands and develops its capabilities. Every dream that provides impossible knowledge, every quantum connection that enhances cognitive ability, every parallel world insight that solves current challenges demonstrates that consciousness operates according to principles that connect us to infinite dimensions of possibility and achievement. The future promises discoveries about multidimensional consciousness that could make every previous understanding of human potential seem primitive by comparison. We approach a transformation in human development that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of our species through access to infinite parallel repositories of knowledge, wisdom, and capability that span all possible versions of human achievement across countless realities. The quantum dreaming phenomenon reveals that individual consciousness doesn't end at the boundaries of personal experience or single timeline existence. You're connected to infinite versions of yourself across countless realities, each containing different achievements, insights, and capabilities that can contribute to your development through quantum consciousness integration. Every dream becomes an expedition into the vast network of parallel possibilities that surround your existence. Quantum adventures that reveal consciousness to be far more interconnected and magnificent than conventional understanding suggests. Through quantum dreaming, we discover that the limitations we perceive in human capability reflect not fundamental constraints of consciousness itself, but merely the boundaries of single timeline awareness. When consciousness expands into multidimensional operation, human potential reveals itself to be virtually unlimited, constrained only by our ability to establish and integrate connections with the infinite parallel versions of ourselves that exist throughout the quantum multiverse. The journey into quantum consciousness continues, revealing that existence operates according to principles far more collaborative and interconnected than conventional awareness can perceive. Your dreams become windows into infinite cosmos of parallel possibilities, quantum expeditions that demonstrate consciousness as the fundamental creative force connecting all realities throughout multidimensional space. As quantum consciousness research advances toward practical applications, we're discovering that the boundary between dreaming and waking reality becomes increasingly fluid for individuals who develop advanced parallel world access capabilities. Experienced quantum dreamers report that their enhanced multidimensional awareness doesn't simply shut off when they wake up. Instead, they maintain subtle connections to parallel information streams throughout their waking hours, creating a hybrid consciousness state single timeline sense that combines awareness with ongoing access to multidimensional insights. This persistent quantum awareness manifests as enhanced intuition that draws upon knowledge from parallel versions who have already encountered similar situations. When facing complex decisions, quantum-aware individuals report receiving guidance that seems to come from nowhere but consistently leads to optimal outcomes. The guidance isn't mystical or supernatural. It's practical information accessed from alternate selves who made different choices and experienced the consequences. The persistent connections also create what researchers call parallel memory integration, where individuals begin incorporating memories from alternate versions into their personal history database. These aren't false memories or psychological delusions. They're genuine memory fragments from parallel selves that provide expanded context for understanding current life situations. The integrated memories don't replace personal experience, but supplement it with additional perspectives that enhance decision-making and emotional processing capabilities. The phenomenon becomes particularly pronounced during high-stress situations when individuals need to access maximum cognitive resources. During crises, quantum-aware people report sudden access to problem-solving strategies they never learned, emotional coping mechanisms they never developed, and creative solutions that emerge from parallel versions who successfully navigated similar challenges. The stress response triggers enhanced quantum coherence that amplifies parallel world connections beyond their normal baseline levels. Emergency responders trained in quantum consciousness techniques demonstrate performance levels that exceed conventional training outcomes. Paramedics report intuitive diagnostic insights that help them identify critical conditions faster than standard medical protocols would allow. Firefighters develop enhanced spatial awareness that helps them navigate dangerous environments with uncanny precision. Crisis counselors access emotional support strategies from parallel versions who specialized in different therapeutic approaches. The enhanced performance effects extend across all professional domains where individuals face complex, high-stakes challenges. Surgeons report accessing surgical techniques from parallel versions who trained under different medical traditions. Engineers develop innovative solutions by connecting with alternate selves who approached similar problems with different technological resources. Business leaders make strategic decisions informed by parallel versions who navigated similar market conditions through different approaches. But the persistent quantum awareness also creates psychological challenges that require sophisticated integration skills. When your waking consciousness maintains connections to multiple parallel versions simultaneously, distinguishing between personal thoughts and parallel influences becomes increasingly difficult. Advanced practitioners must develop mental filtering techniques that allow beneficial parallel input while maintaining clear boundaries around personal identity and decision-making autonomy. The training protocols for managing persistent quantum awareness involve meditation practices that teach individuals how to consciously modulate their multidimensional connections. Practitioners learn to amplify parallel access when beneficial guidance is needed while reducing connections when focused attention on single timeline tasks is required. The ability to consciously control quantum awareness levels becomes essential for maintaining psychological stability and practical effectiveness. The relationship dynamics between quantum-aware individuals create entirely new categories of human connection that transcend conventional interpersonal boundaries. When two people with developed parallel world access capabilities interact, their conversations can include insights and perspectives from multiple versions of both individuals across different realities. The depth of understanding and empathy achieved through multidimensional communication exceeds anything possible through single timeline interaction alone. These enhanced relationship connections also extend to romantic partnerships, where quantum-aware couples can share experiences from parallel versions who explore different relationship dynamics. Partners gain access to alternate approaches to communication, conflict resolution, and emotional intimacy that were developed by parallel versions who navigated similar relationship challenges through different strategies. The resulting relationship depth and satisfaction levels exceed what conventional relationship development can achieve. The parenting implications of quantum consciousness create opportunities for enhanced child development through access to parenting wisdom from parallel versions who raise children under different circumstances. Quantum-aware parents report accessing disciplinary strategies, educational approaches, and emotional support techniques from alternate selves who developed different parenting philosophies through varied life experiences. The multidimensional parenting approach provides children with more comprehensive guidance and support than single timeline parenting can offer. The educational applications for quantum-aware teachers involve accessing pedagogical insights from parallel versions who developed different teaching methodologies through varied educational contexts. Teachers report enhanced ability to connect with diverse learning styles by drawing upon instructional approaches used by alternate selves who worked with different student populations and educational challenges. The multidimensional teaching approach creates more effective learning environments that accommodate broader ranges of student needs and capabilities. The therapeutic applications for quantum-aware counselors provide access to healing approaches developed by parallel versions who specialized in different therapeutic modalities and worked with varied client populations. Therapists report enhanced diagnostic intuition and treatment effectiveness by incorporating insights from alternate selves who addressed similar psychological challenges through different therapeutic frameworks. The multidimensional counseling approach accelerates healing outcomes beyond what single timeline therapy can achieve. The artistic implications involve access to creative techniques and aesthetic insights from parallel versions who developed different artistic traditions through varied cultural contexts. Artists report breakthrough creative developments by incorporating styles, techniques, and conceptual approaches accessed from alternate selves who pursued similar artistic visions through different cultural and historical circumstances. The multidimensional artistic development produces creative output that transcends single timeline cultural limitations. The scientific research implications provide access to experimental insights and theoretical frameworks from parallel versions who approached similar research questions through different methodological pathways. Researchers report enhanced problem-solving capabilities and accelerated discovery processes by incorporating approaches used by alternate selves who investigated similar phenomena under different technological and theoretical constraints. The multidimensional research approach produces scientific breakthroughs that advance understanding beyond single timeline investigation capabilities. The technological innovation implications involve access to engineering solutions developed by parallel versions who worked with different technological resources and faced different design challenges. Engineers report enhanced creative problem solving by incorporating approaches used by alternate selves who developed similar technologies through different developmental pathways. The multidimensional engineering approach produces innovations that combine the best elements from multiple parallel technological traditions. The quantum consciousness revolution extends beyond individual enhancement to encompass fundamental transformations in human civilization through collective access to multidimensional knowledge networks. When significant portions of the population develop quantum awareness capabilities, the collective intelligence of human society begins incorporating wisdom and innovations from parallel versions of entire civilizations that developed different solutions to universal challenges. The collective applications create opportunities for addressing global challenges through access to solutions developed by parallel versions of human civilization who successfully navigated similar crises through different approaches. climate change mitigation strategies that proved effective in alternate realities, social systems that eliminated poverty and inequality in parallel societies, conflict resolution approaches that achieved lasting peace in alternate historical developments. The coordination challenges for implementing multidimensional solutions require developing new forms of collective decision-making that can integrate insights from multiple parallel civilizations while maintaining coherent action within single timeline reality. The governance systems needed to coordinate quantum-enhanced societies differ fundamentally from conventional political structures designed for single timeline populations with limited awareness of alternate possibilities. The international implications create needs for diplomatic frameworks that can address the advantages gained by nations with advanced quantum consciousness capabilities compared to countries that lack access to multidimensional enhancement technologies. The geopolitical balance shifts dramatically when some populations can access collective wisdom from parallel civilizations, while others remain limited to single timeline knowledge and capabilities. The economic transformations required to integrate quantum-enhanced populations involve restructuring entire systems of production, distribution, and value creation when significant portions of the workforce possess capabilities that exceed conventional human limitations. The labor markets, educational institutions, and social structures designed for single timeline populations become obsolete when quantum consciousness provides access to unlimited parallel resources and capabilities. The cultural evolution implications involve transformation of human arts, philosophy, and spiritual traditions through integration of cultural developments from parallel civilizations that evolved different approaches to meaning, creativity, and transcendence. The resulting cultural synthesis could produce forms of human expression and understanding that transcend the limitations of single timeline cultural development. The species evolution implications suggest that quantum consciousness development might represent humanity's natural progression toward multidimensional awareness capabilities that could fundamentally alter our relationship with reality itself. The increasing frequency of spontaneous quantum experiences across global populations might indicate evolutionary changes that are naturally developing enhanced consciousness capabilities in future generations. The cosmic implications extend beyond terrestrial human development to encompass potential contact with quantum-aware civilizations from other worlds who have developed similar multidimensional consciousness technologies. The universe might contain vast networks of quantum-connected intelligences that span multiple realities and dimensional frequencies, creating opportunities for interspecies communication and collaboration across both spatial and dimensional boundaries. The philosophical implications challenge every assumption about the nature of individual identity, personal achievement, and the meaning of existence when consciousness operates as part of infinite networks spanning countless parallel realities. The recognition that your individual awareness participates in vast multidimensional systems that connect all possible versions of yourself across infinite timelines transforms understanding of what it means to be human. The quantum dreaming phenomenon represents humanity's first glimpse into consciousness capabilities that extend far beyond conventional understanding of mental function and human potential. Every dream that provides impossible knowledge, every parallel connection that enhances capability, every multidimensional insight that solves current challenges demonstrates that awareness operates according to principles that connect individuals to infinite dimensions of possibility and achievement. Through quantum consciousness development, we discover that human limitations reflect not fundamental constraints of mental capability, but merely the boundaries of single timeline awareness. When consciousness expands into multidimensional operation, human potential reveals itself as virtually unlimited, constrained only by our ability to establish and integrate connections with infinite parallel versions of ourselves throughout the quantum multiverse. The implications continue expanding as research reveals new layers of complexity in consciousness-reality interaction across parallel dimensions. The future promises discoveries about awareness and identity that could make every previous understanding of human nature seem primitive by comparison. We approach a transformation in human consciousness that could fundamentally alter our species' trajectory through access to infinite parallel repositories of knowledge, wisdom, and capability. Every quantum dream becomes evidence that existence operates according to principles far more interconnected and magnificent than conventional awareness can perceive. Your dreams transform from personal psychological experiences into expeditions across infinite landscapes of parallel possibility, quantum adventures that reveal consciousness as the fundamental force connecting all realities throughout multidimensional space. The journey into quantum consciousness through dreaming continues, revealing that the boundaries separating individual minds, separating possible from actual, separating personal experience from universal possibility, are far more permeable than humanity ever suspected. Your awareness doesn't end at the edges of personal history or single timeline existence. It extends across infinite dimensions of parallel experience, connecting you to versions of yourself and realities that span the entire spectrum of cosmic possibility. As quantum dreaming research advances toward practical applications that could transform human civilization, we stand at the threshold of recognizing that consciousness itself represents the most fundamental aspect of reality. The quantum field that underlies all physical existence might be nothing more than the substrate through which infinite forms of awareness interact, create, and explore the unlimited possibilities that emerge when mind encounters the deepest structures of cosmic existence. Through quantum dreaming, we approach understanding that reality doesn't exist independently of consciousness, waiting to be discovered by passive observers. Instead, reality emerges through the creative interaction between awareness and infinite quantum possibilities, with consciousness actively participating in selecting which of countless potential outcomes become actualized across the multidimensional cosmos. The quantum consciousness revolution reveals that every individual awareness represents a unique perspective within an infinite network of interconnected minds, exploring every possible configuration of existence across countless parallel realities. Your dreams become windows into this vast network, quantum adventures that demonstrate the true scope of consciousness throughout the multidimensional universe. The quantum consciousness revolution has revealed that every night when you close your eyes, you're not just shutting down for 8 hours of rest. You're entering the most profound frontier of human experience, where the boundaries between possible and impossible dissolve into something far more magnificent than we ever imagined. Your dreams aren't random neural static or psychological processing. They're genuine expeditions into parallel realities, quantum adventures that connect you to infinite versions of yourself across dimensions we're only beginning to understand. Tonight, when you drift off to sleep, remember that you're not just one person living one life in one timeline. You're a multidimensional being with access to unlimited possibilities spanning the entire quantum multiverse. Sweet dreams, quantum explorers.